All right, round two comes to me, and it might be the only part of the show where we're not necessarily talking about Rosenberg games. So
No, we definitely are.
we're giving you a break here
Okay, that's fair.
because this I mean we're in a very abstract way we might be, but this is about big games like big box games versus small box games, and what do people prefer? All right, yeah, we're talking about games here, big versus small. Is there a better time and place that you would want to play one or the other, or you just always prefer one or the other? Do you always prefer the big box? Do you always prefer the small box? And then we'll go ahead and start with me, and we'll send it around. And it's kind of funny because I've grown a little bit in this on my own because I don't know how many times I've like been in a game trade or math trade or something like that, and you're looking at the picture and you're like, oh, that game looks pretty good. And then you click on it and you realize, oh, it's a small box game. Ah, never mind. I don't need that. And it's immediately written off. And like even at the game store sometimes when you're going by the aisle, like, yeah, skip those. Let's go to the big box games and look at them. And there's just something about that big box that you're like, you just want to unfold everything on the table. You want to dive into it. You want to have all these goodies. But there's a time and a place for the small box games. And you know what's one of the things, not a sponsor, one of the things that has made me appreciate it is, and Chris mentioned them earlier in the prep for the show, is the company I'll play. And this is not a big pitch for them. They're a great local company and they don't need me to talk about them. But they make some great small box games, and they've got a Kickstarter going on right now where I fulfilled a small box game on there, Vegas Strip, I think it was, because it looks really cool and it plays up to six people, and it's going to have cool, neat components in a small box, so you can get the deluxe stuff for like $20, and have a really deluxe looking cool game on the board, and so. I've kind of grown. I've kind of grown. I was always the big box only guy, and now I've kind of getting a little bit more accepting of some small box. I'm still not a big small box aficionado. I would still rather have that big box and rather have that big game, especially if sometimes the medium to small size boxes do cost as much as a big game. And sometimes, as a game we've mentioned before, we won't go into it again. That should be in a small box. Sometimes you get the big box game and the big box price, and then you open up and you're like, this fits in the corner of the box. Why am I paying for this? And so there's things like that too. So it's not just the box, what's in the box. So that's me. I'm big box prejudiced, but I'm growing. Okay, I'm growing. So that's the condition of me right now and in my inner struggle. And we'll see what these guys think.
John, before we get into, I do have to defend what you said at the very beginning, which you said this has nothing to do with Uwe. I need to explain how this has to do with Uwe.
Oh, I know it does.
Uwe Rosenberg started with Bonanza and these small games, card games, and then all of a sudden he was like abducted by aliens and body swapped because then he started doing Caverna and La Havre and these giant games. And I personally, I'll get into details later, but I like those giant games over the small games. I want Uwe to stay with those, and then he kind of went away with them. And I want to go back to Caverna, please. So
Okay, so we've already heard from Daniel.
Wait a minute.
Chris, how about you, buddy?
Yeah, I'm going to get back to you, Daniel, because that's ridiculous. You've already said you don't like Feast for Odin, which is ridiculous because that is Caverna on steroids.
Well, there is too big, but we'll get into that. Chris, let's hear from you.
Please save us.
Oh, well, you're in real trouble then. And so, okay, so when for me, I've always enjoyed the big production, big game, right? Like I am the one that is willing to sit down to play 8 hours of 18xx and things of that nature, right? So the big box with all the components and all the stuff, playing TI, all those kind of stuff, that super speaks to me. I love that. It's also really hard to get that to the table on a regular basis, right? So because of it, I've tried to reevaluate the way I view things, and now I've come to, I want the normal box. I don't want the big box. I don't want the small box. I want the normal box that fits in my game bag. So yeah, I'm only bringing 5 games to game night, right? But we're gonna get them all played in the first place? No, because Daniel's there, and I gotta be forced to play his games anyway. So,
Oh, so
yeah,
2022. Come on.
no, it's forever. It's forever. But the joke stays. But yeah, so like small box games, they can be good. Like again, maybe that was part of my prejudice with the whole, because we talked about Love Letter and stuff, and I was just like, I don't understand, this game fits in a sock. Like, how is this a game? Like, how is this such a big deal, right? So I prefer the normal size boxes, but there are some exceptions. Like we're talking about games that are in boxes that shouldn't be. One of my favorite games that Randy actually initially pushed me on was First and Roll, and that game has a normal size box, and it should fit in a way smaller box. But the upside of it is you pull out the little insert, man. You can I now have, it's like my get out bag. I have 9 games in there, including First and Roll as well as a bunch of other games. It's my get out bag. So I like the normal size box because it fits in my game bag. Well, perfect.
Hey, we got to acknowledge that he said he
around
likes
the board French Kiss Award.
Thank you.
We got to acknowledge that Chris said he likes big productions. Where's Chris, and what did you do with him there, guy in the yellow orange?
I like big productions that are warranted, not for no good reason.
Okay.
Like that insert in First and Roll.
Correct. Andy, help us out.
Well, you kind of stole my thunder just a little bit, because I was
Yes.
going to say it's not about big or small. It's about the medium. Because I like conformity in my box sizes. If we're going straight for box sizes, I want it to look nice on the shelf and be in the standard box size.
That sounds like me.
Truly, though, this question is kind of silly. I'm not even going to give it the time of day. I'm gonna just take my time and name some games that are small and big box games that are good. So that's what I'm going to do with my time. What do you think of that?
Your time.
Yeah,
Do what you want.
Do whatever the heck I want. So one of the small box games that I love that gets no love, I don't feel like, is called Age of Civilization. And it is in a very small box. It's a fun Civ game that is really good. Another one is Tiny Epic Dinosaurs. And I'm not a fan of all the Tiny Epics, but Tiny Epic Dinosaurs, French Kiss Award right there. By the way, if you don't know what we're talking about with that, go back and watch the previous episode.
Yeah, the Tom Vassell episode.
Yes, the Tom Vassell.
And
Most likely you have watched it, so
yes.
Right.
The big
And
boxes.
thank you for showing up.
yes.
For the big boxes, it's got to be really good to warrant taking up that much space. I mean, it's got to be a deluxe, like it's got to be a deluxeified version of Castles of Burgundy, which is so worth it. But there's others that it's like, I just don't need a huge box like this.
Like Wonderland's War.
Wonderland's War is pretty darn good, man.
It's pretty deluxe, at least.
It's deluxe quality.
It's one of those
and
things.
It's a good experience. How many times have you played it now, Chris?
Half
Half a time.
the time. I think I played it twice.
Whatever.
Daniel, before we go on to you, just one more thing about that. As I was when I was thinking about a big box, I wasn't even thinking about the just huge boxes like you're talking about. I was thinking more the normal size or a little bit bigger, because I do remember my big thing is there's no such thing as an overproduced game. And then I got Cleopatra and a Society of Architects big box thing, and I was afraid to even take the pieces out of the box. And that was my fear. I'm not going to get this back in here right. I'm taking pictures of it, and I'm taking layer by layer out. I got 3 layers out. I'm like, no, that's it. As far as I can go. I'm trading this.
It's true. You can get overwhelmed by some of the big
I was a little
boxes.
overwhelmed. Yes. So
I get that way. I had the big box of Kingdom Builders, which I traded away here recently. But not that that's a very complex game, but it had so many expansions and so many things. I didn't get it to the table ever because I didn't want to get it back in the box.
Yeah. My Father's Work is another one of those that had just like layer of trays. And
Oh,
it's
is that right?
like,
Yeah.
Like it freaked me out the first time I opened it. I was like, oh, I'm never gonna get back this back in right. It's worked out, but it did give me board game tray anxiety.
There you go. All right, Daniel. Sorry to take up some of your win there.
It's okay. No, it's fine. So I'm infamous for a reputation of hating small games. Much like Andy, who has this like reservation against co-ops and like no matter what it is, he's like, I hate it. I'm like that with small box games. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm okay with some. Like, this is a really great game that I have, Dungeon Draft. That's a small box. So I don't hate them all. But if it's in a small box, it has to be really, really good, because most of them are just mid. Let's just be honest. A lot of them, they don't carry a lot of weight for me, in my opinion, of course. I want my board game experiences, whether Euro or Ameritrash or card games, I want it to be robust and exciting and something you look back on. And that is why right now my room is ridiculously overran with big box games like Mechs vs Minions and Gloomhaven and Frosthaven and Freedom 5 and Millennial Blades and Arcs, which is like this super duper like overproduced things. My big box of Sentinels in the Multiverse. What about what is it called? It doesn't matter. I love my biggest game. They want to be epic. They have to be great because they're not worth playing unless they leave an experience that's behind. And then as far as like connecting this to UA, give me a big Euro game. I don't want these small Euro games because they, to me, they give me an illusion of a fun time. It's like I get 3-4 fun choices and then it's over. So I want my Euros to come into a big game too, and I want them to cover the table. I want them to be people walk in and go, "Oh my gosh, what are you doing?" And we're like, "Yeah, we're playing a game." So that's right. So big boxes, give me big boxes. I like big boxes and I cannot lie.
Oh boy. Thanks for that, Daniel.
You're welcome.
That was too much. I had to do the hurry up sound.
Yeah, that's fine.
Please.
Producer told me to do it, so I better got extra points for that.
Yeah.
That's fair.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah,
All right. Well,
So in truth, like, I mean, really just kind of wrapping up like Daniel talked about, right? Like, and I almost talked about it during my segment, is that like there is some sort of, like, that's what I was kind of alluding to with Love Letter. In fact, you put it in sock. Like, there is some ceiling to, like, if you don't have enough, like, you have a physical ceiling of depth that you can have, right? If you don't have a whole lot of actual stuff in the box to even work with, right? Now, you could say like, oh, well, there's infinite depth in like Magic the Gathering. Like, okay, yeah, and they're just cards. But you need a room full of cards to really add the depth, right? It's not just that one deck. So it's that there is a ceiling to with how much there can be with how big the box is. So
I do have one exception, and that is with abstract games. A game like chess or Onitama or something like that. Those can do some really cool things with very small spaces, but I think that's a pretty limited field. It's not. I don't think it expands to all games.
Sure.
all right. Well,
It's
you
all
tell
about
us.
uniformity.
Oh gosh. All right. Well, you tell us out there what you think. Are you like Daniel? Do you like the big box? Do you like to have big box? You like all that junk in the insert? Is that what you like? Or do you like it to keep it small and thrifty and agile?
That Cosmo game.
Let us know. Let us know in the comments down below, and please like and subscribe. Thank you for watching this clip from Around the Board. If you'd like to watch the full episode, please click on the link down below. Around the Board is essentially a game show featuring 4 board game enthusiasts that discuss board game topics and news in a competitive format. Whoever wins gets to talk about whatever he wants at the end of the show. So please join us, won't you, Around the Board.